Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Transformers review. Now I thought I'd follow a bit of a theme of some of the bits I've been picking up lately and some of the reviews I've done recently, and do another Pretender. Now this is one of the second wave Pretenders, and a Decepticon. You may not recognise him in this form if you're not familiar with the Pretenders, but this is G1 Pretender Starscream. He came out in about the 89 sort of time. I think it was the 89 wave of figures. One of, like I say, the second generation Pretenders, so one of the smaller Pretenders, though his shell is actually more along the lines of the sort of like original wave Pretender. If I get Splashdown, who is also a wave 1 Pretender, as you can see, similar colour, similar size. So although Pretender size is smaller than a robot, the actual shell is about the same, so not too bad in that sense. I'll get him out of the way. Now, as I say, he's a second wave Pretender, which they came in for more stick than even the sort of wave 1. Out of the two, I actually prefer the wave 2 Pretenders. Some of them are more rarer and harder to find. The bots are usually smaller, but they do have a better independent sort of design of transformation. When you get the first wave of Pretenders, they were a very similar transformation on the inner bot, and not the greatest of alt modes. These actually did stick better to the actual alt mode forms of the actual characters as they were in their original forms. Anyway, without getting on into the fan fiction of all of that, Pretender Starscream. Now, he does come with quite a few accessory bits. They do suffer from different problems. I shall go through them as I show you them. Now, as I say, this is the Pretender shell with all these bits on. I'll give you a quick 360. It's quite a good colour scheme, and in pretty tidy condition. It's not too bad. There's a bit of sticker wear on some of the stickers there you'll see on Starscream's wing sections. They're a little bit worn, but all in all, he's quite a tidy one, and the stickers like on the shell up the top there are pretty good. Now, getting to parts and accessories. First of all, we'll stick with basics. Now, most Pretenders have removable helmets or something like that. This is Starscream's one, which is a bit like a sort of Orcs, or a sort of cross between an Orc and a Viking sort of helmet. Yeah, it's okay, sort of brown plastic, sort of rubbery, so it sort of gives a little bit as you're putting it on. All very well and good, and you could probably pick that up quite reasonably as an accessory. It doesn't cost the earth to get Starscream. Downsides to Pretenders, as with most of the others, as you can see where you've got the sort of cheek there, there's a bit of paint wear. You often find it on the hair as well. If I go down the back, there's a bit of paint wear on the back as well. You often do find that because the helmets are quite a tight fit, as they have been put on and off over the years by the kids playing with them, they cause a bit of paint wear. It's not the end of the world. If you're good with your painting, you could probably touch up and make it good, and probably nobody would ever know the difference, but you'd have to colour match very well. Other accessories, you get 2 wings. Now these peg in, as you can see, into these holes left and right, and these wings are again left and right handed, specific to the figure as well. So you get a left and right section wing. Now this is the top of the wing, although it kind of looks a bit weird that it's got the 2 pegs. Very reminiscent of the old Lego pegs where they got the split in them to give them a little bit of play. Yeah, these are specific to Starscream, so, and if you want to get these, obviously you've got to get the correct handed ones, so left or right, or buy them as a pair. So be wary when you're buying those, and also if you're buying one of these guys complete, make sure you see the picture to see that these pegs aren't broken at where the split is, because it's quite common for where the bottom of the split is in the peg there for it to shear off, and then once there's half a peg, it's not much use to you. Okay, so that's his wings. Now getting back to the front of the figure, you've got a gun. Now, quite a large gun, and it is made up of 3 parts. Now, as you can see, one of those parts is a little bit wonky on the tail fin there. That is because these parts are prone to a bit of, how shall I say, stress marks and being cracked and broken. Now again, these are left and right handed, and they form the tail sections of the Starscream inner robot, but they're also his handguns as well. That's hence the little peg as well. So left and right, so you've got the left and right there, but this is what I'm on about. Even on my one here, where I've managed to pick this up, there's quite a large stress mark across the bottom of that, which you'll see has made that tail fin wonky. You can try and bend it back. I would only sort of say doing it very, very carefully, because there is a weak point. There's a line, if I can get it sharp in the light, just there, which is in a moulding line, and that is the weak point. Now if you do it too much, obviously you can create a stress mark on the top where you're going to see it on the top of the wing, but not only that, you could run the risk that if it's very delicate, you could end up snapping the wing at that point, just there. Now, I haven't tinkered with it too much. I may at some point dip it in some hot water just to help it ease back into shape, but like I say, I would suggest, if you can find these parts, if you're building up a figure, try it and get as good a pictures as you can, and search out ones what are fine, so save yourself the hassle. Now in the same way, at some point this gun, as you can see, has gone a bit twisted. The barrel's got a bit bent at the end there. Again, this is not the end of the world, because this is a chunky bit of plastic. It doesn't have much give in itself, so again I will probably do a thing where dip it in hot water to soften it up a little bit, and then very carefully get it into place. Now when you do that, obviously you've got to go slightly past where you want it to be, so that as it then cools and straightens, it should then end up in the right place. But again, I would be quite careful with that, in the sense of you don't want to go too soft with the plastic, or make the plastic ripple and then be useless. So be wary on those sort of bits as well. Getting to now the point that the Pretender shell is at its bare bones. You can now, once again, you've got to take the helmet off to get this open as well, because the head has got a split in. Not all of them do, but on this one it does. You're at the point you can separate the 2 shell sections, and you find Starscream's inner robot inside, folded up. Take him out, and then you're free to pop the shell back together and put it to one side. Now again, you can of course pop the helmet back on and give him the large gun, because the large gun belongs with the Pretender shell, and that in itself is self-contained, half of the toy, sort of psychically linked or whatever, going by the fan fiction, to Starscream himself. Now this is the Starscream figure, as I say, how he comes when he's folded up. He's not bad. I mean, I know a lot of people complain about this figure not being as good as the original G1, which is fair enough, because obviously the original G1 is similar size wise to the actual Pretender shell, but at least they went down the route of giving him a proper alt mode, rather than, like I say, the earlier Pretenders tended to have just a basic kind of almost like bend them in half, fold them up to get an alt mode, which didn't really look anything Earth based. It was more just a Cybertronian mode. This mode, however, is quite good. I quite like it. I know he's limited with articulation stuff, but then it is G1. Now to get him into his alt mode, to start with, you fold down what are his arms down to the side to get those out of the way of these clips on the back. Now again, these are another weak point. If you're picking up the inner robot, you want to make sure these clips are okay, because if these are broken, you can't attach the wings, in the same way as if the clips on the wings are broken, you can't do it either. Now when I first got this, I did think that the peg's just pushed in to the point where there's like a little rib around the part of the clip there, and it sort of works, and it will sort of stay there, but it's not brilliant. But what I actually noticed is if you look inside the clip at detail, if I can get that to focus in closely, if it's going to, let's see if we, there we go. Inside the centre there, if you excuse my dirty nail, is a little ridge inside the middle of the clip. You just about make that out. Now what you need to do is line up the rib on the peg to the centre of the clip. Now this is again a slightly dodgy moment, you've got to give it just a little wiggle just to help it get in there. But that keeps it locked in exactly the right place, and you'll see then that the wing lines perfectly with the side of the grey part of Starscream's main body. And you do the same on both. So it's just lining up that rib to the centre of the clip, a little bit of pressure, little wiggle, and it pops in. And that is effectively his wings fitted on. All very well and good, and it looks spot on. Fold the nose cone out from underneath, which immediately gives Starscream his jet mode. And then all you've got to do, down the bottom here, you've got some holes, and where you've got the pegs on these tail sections, they literally just peg straight into the back there and form the tail sections. And to me that's not a bad little Cybertronian, not a bad little Earth alt mode of an F-15. A little bit clunky with the clips, but when you're talking the scale of the figure, it's actually not too bad, especially for G1. Unusually they didn't bother painting the front of the nose a bit like the original, so it would have had a black nose cone, but it actually kind of works better because the black of the nose cone on the originals was just because it was rubber, whereas on a real jet it's only going to be the same colour like this is, so that's actually quite good. So yeah, you get a quick 360 of the jet mode. You can clearly see it's Starscream, and you can clearly see his arms there, but again on this scale all they could have done is literally fold those into the side like an aerial bot, but then you'd have ended up with a much more hollow figure. So pros and cons. But yeah, I quite like that. That's quite a good little mode. Only downside is he hasn't got any wing weapons, which would have been quite nice, even if they'd have just moulded those in on the wings. Anyway, for him to transform to his mode, you pop those tail sections back off, pull down, pull to the side his legs, and that just opens up a section. I wasn't sure if they actually pulled down then. This is quite a new figure to me as well. That just opens it up and makes it more leg-like, for what it's worth. You then flick the nose cone down and round, which reveals Starscream's face, and then you can lift his arms up, and then you can just flip the wings round. You don't actually have to unclip them, which is a really good little touch, because that way you're not stressing out the clips for 2 times. You've only literally got to unclip these wings to actually put them away on the back of the Pretender shell, so it's an added bonus that you don't have to muck around with it too much. And there you go, that is Starscream. Now of course you can then use the same pegs as you peg into the back of his legs to peg these into his hands, and they become his weapons. So he gets a double set of blasters. Now again, like I say, if they'd have moulded in some weapons, especially if they could have turned, you could have had some wing weapons on the back as well. It would have been quite nice if they'd have gone the old-fashioned route as well, and if they'd have made a little hole on the side, you could have had arm cannons like the original by just pegging them in up there. But again, engineering of the time, they were probably a little bit limited with what they could do. But all in all, not a bad little robot. He needs a couple of new stickers here and there, but generally speaking he's as original and reasonably tidy, apart from whoever originally put that sticker in, put it in wonky. So I'll forgive it, it was probably a child. But never mind. Pretender Starscream. Not everybody's favourite, but I actually quite like it. I think it's actually quite a nice little jet mode. I think if they actually produced that as a figure now, most people are right, you wouldn't be overly fussed compared to Combiner Wars and that. But I wouldn't be dissatisfied if that had been the mould for, say, like a Legion class figure, something like that. And it is similar size to a Commander class Legion figure. Like I say, a lot smaller in a Pretender figure than you get with the earlier ones, but I do prefer the actual fact that they got proper independent alt modes rather than the silly fold up sort of designs. Anyway, that is G1 Starscream, the Pretender version at least anyway. Like I say, a bit of a favourite of mine. I've sort of been trying to get him complete for quite a long time, so I've sort of built this up over time, and I will, like I say, sort out the faults and get him restickered at some point. One I would definitely say for the hardened G1 collectors, if you're not into your Pretenders, you're not really going to enjoy these guys, but they've got a charm of their own. They're a little bit of a niche in the G1 line. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that little look at yet another G1 Pretender. Please feel free to comment, and please feel free to subscribe. This is the first of my videos you've seen, and I shall hopefully see you again for another Transformers review. Thanks for watching.